Hello, I am Stephanie Joy, the attorney at All Things Social Security and Joy Disability Law. Your video is about to start. I just wanted to remind you that if you click the join button below, you can learn more about the memberships offered at a very affordable price that can give you a little more direct attorney answers to your questions. Have a great day and enjoy the video. Guys, taking a little sushi break here, or sashimi, I should say. It's just raw fish and soy with some wasabi. I'm trying to do like a high protein day today and stay off the breads and such. Anyway, just came up. Well, someone just asked this morning on the channel on initial. It's been a really long time, 13 months. Did recently do a function report, like within the last couple of months. Should another one be done? I wouldn't think so, because that's just 2 months ago. And in SSA world, that's pretty recent. But it brings up another point, possibly. We were talking about, what about work history reports? Because now the work history report, as of June 2024, is far more robust per job with all the questions than it used to be. It's things we already knew we had to describe just because we're in the field. But now claimants without representation are going to know that these things are important too. You might want to know why they're important and how they could affect you. Pardon me here. Oh, very cattywampus here. Okay, so do you have to do another function report? Work history report if you did one before? I would wait till they ask you, because it might not be relevant. If you're under 50, they might do an expedited without looking at past work, because if you're going to fail on other work in the claim anyway, they don't need to go through all of that extra expense, because it would be a denial regardless. But for instance, I have a client who's over 50, and we had done the work history report, we had done the function report, all that. But we did get a request for more details on the work history. And it's so basically I filled out with him the new version of the job questions. So I just pulled out one of the jobs, because the form has enough for like 5 jobs. I just pulled out the first one, got it all done up. There was like one piece of missing evidence, missing information that he had just forgotten to give me. So I contacted them about that, and it will be in. So if the reason why I'm pretty sure they asked him, being an over 50 person, about all these little extra things about 2 hands versus 1 hand when you lift, reach, blah, blah, blah. And some of the other ones about the supervision, interacting with public coworkers and supervisors, all that stuff. That is why, because his past relevant work is going to be relevant to a decision, potentially. They have to realize that he can't do his past work, given how arduous it was, etc. And no supervisory skills, etc., etc. And so they want to know those details. And so I'd like to think this is a prevail, people. But over 50, that past relevant work is going to be much more, for some of you, much more important, because that hurdle you'll be able to bypass, and then go on to whether there's transferable skills, not transferable skills. That's what those questions will be about. So anyway, we got it. I haven't sent it out yet, but I'll be sending it out today. We just went over it together yesterday, and we will get that to them. And I'm hoping that will be the end of the case, because he already had his CE exam, right? And then we just got this request for all the new questions for the work history. So all good. But I just want to share that with you, that it could very well be that they ask you for a new description. Now, remember, they're only going to now ask you about the last 5 years. So if you had 3 years worth, 3 different employers over the last 15 years on your original work history report, they're not going to ask about all those, or they shouldn't be. They will be asking about whatever job you had in the last 5 years. You might have had more than one. You might have to give details for 2 or 3. But in this case, it was just 1, because the person had been doing the same job for about 25 years. Okay. All right. So expect it. Some of you are going to be getting that additional request for more work history information, even though you already provided it in a lesser degree. All right. It's more detailed now. Ciao. Hey, so if the subject matter of the video you just listened to is of interest and you want more on it, stay tuned. Here's another one about the same topic, but a little bit different. Bye now. Hey guys, the SSA did put out a new work history report, the SSA 3369. If you're looking it up, you would probably Google SSA-3369. Technically, it has a -BK after that. And this one came out in June of 2024. So the change, of course, is partially about the change of the 15-year rule on past relevant work to make it have to be within 5 years. So for other reasons and in different videos, we talk about how magnitudinous that is. It is huge. But anyway, so I'm looking at the first page and I just wanted to point this out that they specifically say in section 2, this is on the first page, list all the jobs you had in the 5 years before you became unable to work because of your medical conditions. So that's the one change. They add a few details that they didn't add to the prior one, even though it was what they wanted with the 15-year look back too. So let's just go through them. First, they remind you to list your most recent job first. That is really helpful. Yeah, that's helpful. From my perspective, it is because, you know, we always work with people to actually put together their work history reports. My clients don't send them in blindly without any legal explanation and understanding. So we work very significantly on work history reports with our clients, and having them from most recent and going back is, strangely enough, very helpful to get a good vision of what's going on. The second bullet point they say is list all job titles, even if they were for the same employer. That's new. That was never in there. But the reason being, promotions and stuff, we get new responsibilities. So I think what they're thinking is, in the past, people probably put their most recent one, not always, some people would explain, but they'd put their, you know, their most recent level of title, if their jobs changed. I mean, they might have gone from being a housekeeper in a hotel to being the manager of the front desk, right? Entirely different job skill sets. Okay. And remember, a lot of the work history report is to figure out what your old jobs were to see if you could still do them now, right? Okay, so job titles, even if they were for the same employer. I'm going to toss in here just a comment about that. Don't exaggerate your titles. Remember, this is not a resume where you're trying to get a job. Don't puff yourself up. Keep it basics. Don't exaggerate. And don't act like you're trying to get a job and you're puffing up your skills and how important you were. Not going to be helpful. This is in bold, this next bullet point, so I think they find this very important. Do not include jobs, and this one's new also. Do not include jobs you held less than 30 calendar days. That's super sweet. It's interesting, but yeah, so when you have those little ones that you tried for a week, you don't even have to include them. I appreciate that because we do get clients that have been job hopping and having such troubles. Not that the job hopping isn't important though, mind you. I want to know that information, but it's not for this form. Okay. So if you are my client, I'd want to know that you had, you know, 16 jobs in 2 years because you kept getting terminated because you weren't showing up on time or you were fighting with your coworkers, that kind of thing. Or maybe you had physical problems and you just couldn't keep up with the demands. You know, there are people, it's not unusual to see that kind of work history when the impairment started getting bad, but the person is still trying to get those jobs. And that is something I would like to be in front of. It's not really going to affect on the initial or reconsideration levels, most likely, because they're using more of a checkbox. Do you meet the check boxes to win? We don't look outside the, you know, we don't read outside the box. But for an ALJ, I think it would be something that ALJ would consider one way or the other. But on this particular work history report, do not include jobs you held less than 30 calendar days. They do say to include self-employment. Big, big, big. All these little bullet points are new, but they were important then. They just weren't included. So people were really erring a lot. So they're letting you know, yes, of course, self-employment, if it lasts more than 30 days, would be included in this. And they give you some examples: rideshare driver, a hairstylist if you're self-employed. I would add things like, yeah, other kinds of self-employment. Maybe you're a handyman, that kind of thing. And then the last one they included as a bullet point is work that you did in a foreign country. That's really, really important to know for other reasons. You might have a foreign pension or foreign social security credits that you could be getting credit for. The pension could then affect something here that might not be as favorable, but obviously the work you do in a foreign country is still work. So you want to include it. And again, only the last 5 years. If you had a job that was started, let's say you started it 10 years ago and you left that job 4.5 years ago, you were in that job within the last 5 years. So that job would count. You have to put it in. Okay. Unfortunately. So yeah. Sorry, I was just reading something, make sure I was not going to leave something out here. Because you worked it, say 6 months, the first 6 months of the last 5 years. So you kind of have to put that job in. Don't be thinking you can't because you started it more than 5 years ago, as long as you were in it, working it within the last 5 years. Okay. Sorry about that one. All right. I was going to go on to something else. They give you, by the way, 10 spots. And I'm just trying to see if they give you 10. Like the other report, even though there's 10 spots in the front page for 10 possible jobs you had in the last 5 years, they do not give you a page for each of those jobs. And by the way, it used to be a page per job of their particular form. Now it's 2 pages per job. So they only give you, I think it's 5 2-page sections for probably the most recent 5. If you go more than 5, you want to print out another one of those pages. And a set of 2, actually. So you can put job number 6, the bird, job number 7, all that kind of stuff. All right. I'm not going to go into, I'm going to make this a 2-parter, so I don't make this too long. But that's the first page, guys. Things to take note of. Very, very important. We will go into what those 2 pages are for each job and things you should be thinking about. Okay? All right. Tally ho. If I can find my click off button, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.